Hey everyone, it's Anahata. How are you? I had a time anomaly happen to me in the middle of the night, and I thought, what a better way to do this live than to show you my pool. If I can, actually. How do I switch it? Here we go. Because this is going to get deep. We're going to dive deep. And the water here will support you in understanding what the heck I'm saying, because it gets pretty wild. But a lot of you will be on the higher end of the spectrum, not superior, just awake and aware. You know, I've been on this path of ascension for, gosh, my whole life, but really intensely since 2012, I guess, and then into 2017, 2016, 2017. Well, actually 2015 was when I had my divine download. So, but I think the gate was unlocked in 2012, and then I resisted for a while, and, you know, I was in corporate America doing my thing. And then I realized, wait, this is not my path. This is not my purpose and my passion. And so I started following my inner knowings and doing lots of research. And this has led to, you know, over 15 years of investigating what this simulation is, what this world is, what our lives are, what the field is all about. And so I wanted to share my experience last night. Was mind-blowing, exciting, and also just so eye-opening. I woke up and went to the bathroom. That's not the cool part. I went to the kitchen, grabbed a glass of water, glanced at the clock, and the clock said 5:45. Now, 5:45 is when we usually get up in the morning, if it's a school day. So I was like, oh, I'm so glad we don't have to get up right now. We can go back to bed for a few hours. And so I got back in bed after having a sip of water. I had placed the glass of water back on the table, on the countertop in the kitchen, and I went back into my bed. And then my mind started thinking through all of the stuff that I'm teaching right now, which is all about field dynamics and timelines and all of the structures that are coming down as the world goes through the dark night of the soul, and light comes in offering of choice and coherence. And so my mind is going a mile a minute, as it always does. And then there was a visible shift in the light of the room. And I thought, oh, it's just the sunlight, but it definitely wasn't. So I got up again, and this had been maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And I come out into the kitchen again when I realize, you know, nothing strange is going on. Must have just been, you know, I don't know what. I still don't know what. Well, actually, I do know it was a phase shift. Anyways, I glance at the clock in the kitchen, and to my just regular, I was just like, still kind of like, it said 4:48. And then I was like, wait a minute, 4:48? It was just 5:45 less than 10 minutes ago. What is actually happening? And I literally couldn't figure it out. And I thought, this is crazy. I need to meditate on what just happened, because I'm not going to gaslight myself into thinking, oh, you know, the first time I looked at the clock, it must have just said 4:45 instead of 5:45, and then 3 minutes had passed. Either way, something kooky was going on with time, right? And I really do now, through meditation and unlocking the deeper revelations, which, by the way, follow me if you aren't, because I'm going to be doing a deep dive into timelines. And this is just a preface of that for you to understand that we are on two different timeline bandwidths of collective coherence. One is dystopian, fear, doom, gloom, AI takeover, governmental takeover, we blow ourselves up, etc. And the other, the new world, and anchoring into 5D consciousness and coming back into remembrance of how we create, which ironically, the dystopian timeline was also created that way. There are rules in the simulation. It's just, where do you want to be? This is why I always say your truth is your truth and it's true, but do you want it to be? When you pass the threshold of understanding how the field works, then you can start playing in it, right? And those that have bound us in the matrix do so already. This is how they've achieved this quote unquote reality that we find ourselves in, that a lot of us are now questioning and not supporting. But are you supporting it? Because if you're labeling, judging, if you're in trauma loops, if you're in political polarized states of distortion, if you've taken on any of the narratives that are spinning as your identity and use that to filter out the majestic, you know, your source coherence beyond judgment and sides, then yeah, you're going to experience more of that. It's a timeline choice that everyone has to make, and we make it in every moment. You don't decide, I'm on the 5D, high vibe train without integrating the distortions that we all have. And so we oscillate in between, like a heat-seeking missile, right? The source is the goal. Source point coherence is the goal, but we don't get there through being there first. You've got to experience both ends of the polarity and get your shit together and decide that you're going to learn field literacy and that it's that important which timeline you collapse into reality, because time is only linear in this dimension. And lower, but time is of this dimension. And when you start realizing that, you can start weaving forward and opening the path for others as well, because the more collective resonance that is vibing with that field, the more it is. And so there are two timelines, as I said, that are crystallizing into place simultaneously. And it's my passion to be a field literacy guide, and to not force you into anything, just to open the door and to say, look, this is here. And you could be at both ends of the spectrum. We are, as humans, because we've got an animal body, we've got a social body, we've got a sky body, and we've got a karmic body. So we've got these four lenses of perception that are influencing our thoughts and our emotions and collapsing those into form. And you can't just say, I'm going over here into the 5D, because that's distortion as well. That's spiritual bypass. And so whether you are on this journey and you've done years of work, you're into all of this, you've been saying for so long all these things that are now becoming the normal, right? That's the other thing that's happening. That benchmark of what is the collapsing of multiple states of waveforms into being. And so it gets really trippy and also empowering to understand that, and to realize that everyone's truth is their own truth, and you can't convince anyone of anything, but the new normal is rising in vibration regardless, because Gaia herself is coming in higher frequencies. So this is where you can't afford to bypass, because that's distortion, and that's not anchoring in the now of being here in this body, in this form as we ascend, right? That doesn't work. And you can't afford to edit out the proof that has long been here but unseen. And the new normal is rising leaps and bounds every day. And in fact, even those on the dystopian timeline are now supporting 5D Earth. Why? Because even in their kicking and screaming, they're closing the loop. They're questioning more. They're outraged. They are, the chaos is cathartic. It is the defense mechanism that is causing inflammation so that we can heal and close those loops of distortion. And so it's an amazing time to be here, dipping our toes into both simultaneously, and not denying, disowning, and discrediting what has been, or trying to escape it through bypass, and not succumbing to the very real yet illusionary reality of dystopia that is coming to an end if we choose coherence. So my work is all about sharing timeline dynamics, sharing these anomalies with you, and helping you center in your nervous system in the now, not in a bypassing way, and not in a looping way that is distorted. We've done enough of that collectively and for many, many lifetimes. So the sun is helping us. The light codes that are coming in are really detoxing. Don't be hard on yourself if you're exhausted, tired, feeling like, why don't people get it, right? This is where I'm finding a lot of people are like, I've been saying this for years. Yes, but the new normal is rising. We should be rejoicing in the fact that people are finally aware of all of the mayhem and deception and disgusting, satanic, essentially. And I'm not, trying to blame or shame. It's just field dynamics. It played its role. It's playing its role. And it's just so happening to be disintegrating. And this is why the powers that have locked us into chains don't want the cat out of the bag, that water is magical in a normal way, and that color and sound and glyphs are magical in a normal way, and that the satanic cults that have ruled the world through the very, very few psychopaths that are being controlled by etheric realms of possession, if you will. I'll put it this way. And if you've never heard this, you may be tempted to say, you're insane. And that's okay. Everyone comes into their truth. All the things we've been saying for years, people are like, oh, that's woo. And I love that woo is becoming true, but it's also destabilizing. It's also like, wow, I'm waking up. Now what? Right? WTF? All these things. And that can be directly perceived as threat to yourself. What's happening is your ego is dying. Let it go. Let it go. It's okay. It served its purpose. You do have an animal body to adapt, to ensure that you're surviving, that you make it through, that your needs are met. You do have a social body to ensure that you are part of the pack and accepted and in community. You do have a sky body that is there to help you question things and to think through in different ways that you've never experienced. You do have a karmic body to help you remember lineages that aren't complete, that have not resolved, resolve, so that you can finally close those loops and move forward out of the polarity of density survival based and into the enlightened field dynamics where you actually have choices that make differences for the world. You go within, you do the work, it ripples out into the world. It becomes the new normal. And so I'm excited about all the chaos. Not in the suffering sense. I'm not sadistic. It really sucks, but we've all gone through those portals of awareness in our lives. We've either worked through them and closed the loops of distortion to gain clarity, insight, and strength and take back our sovereign power, or we haven't. But all of us will, because it is a natural field dynamic as we ascend into the 5D. Ascension isn't something that is waiting for anyone. It's now. And you can decide you don't want to go that route. Well, you'll find yourself on the looping dystopian timeline and potentially a hard reset. Because coherence can't exist in the higher dimensions that we are 100% locked into, because evolution is sustainable and coherence is resonance that is with source, and the rest will collapse after a certain amount of time and cycles happen. So it's not a matter of if it's happening, it's happening. Where do you want to be on that timeline? And how do you want to be experiencing time? One of the things that was shown to me through the time anomaly that I began this live with was that when time feels fractured, it's sped up, it's stressful, it's chaotic, there's pressure. And it's beckoning you into that center space. When time feels expansive and slowed down and you can go backwards and forward, you're coherent in the collapsing of your new timelines forward, not chaotically, but through source point resonance and nervous system regulation. Both of these dynamics are happening simultaneously on the planet. Where do you want to center yourself? And this is the confusion is people think that 5D is a choice, that high vibes are a choice, and that if I'm just in love and joy and bliss, then I'm there. No, you're there when you finish your loops, when you do the work and the distortion no longer needs to be there because you've addressed it. Now, It doesn't mean talking it out and how do you feel about when you were 6 when this happened and all of these, all right? It's not a mental choice to be ascended. It's not an emotional choice to be ascended. Those are tools. Navigation, those are outputs. Those aren't even tools. Those are experiences on your dashboard of reality, designed to help you navigate. And we're coming back into this normal where we see all the tools that have been used by the occult and other dark entities in different, etheric planes of the astral field, right? Because this is also confusing. It's like, why would these people be so evil? Well, I'm going to lay it on you. And it's not as insane as it sounds. It's just field mechanics. So imagine in this astral field, parasitic, non-human energies that don't have their source light shining, that is self-sustained because they're distorted. They need life force energy to survive, to carry on, to not disintegrate. And so they enter various people, it's called being possessed, or driven in various levels, right? This is all a spectrum. It's not like people are walking around and they are 100% possessed by a demon. They may be possessed by a demon when they are in their political identity. They may be possessed by a demon when they are in their body of distortion that doesn't realize they already have it all, right? And that they need to be more powerful, have more money, have fame, right, etc. I posted the other day about, what are the reasons why people would sell their soul? Well, it's disconnection is the one word. Disconnection from source. And ironically, you sell the key you have to eternal coherence and the path forward of your choosing through the perception that you don't have that or that it's limited. And so you need something else, right? And so back to these, and ironically, you sell the only key that ensured that you always had that. So there's multiple paradoxes that I'm going to be posting very soon. Again, follow me if any of this is even mildly interesting, because I speak to both ends of what's happening. There are very ascended people in my community that are like, yep, I already know all this. But it's still for you. It's still for you to understand the tools that are coming back online in the field that we get to play with. And it's still for you if you're like, what the hell are you saying? You seem a little crazy, but the world is crazy. And therefore, if I'm being honest with myself, something's going on. Anyways, back to the possession discussion of parasitic, inorganic, meaning not in their own center discussion. They have been and are, and it's coming into light, right? The new normal is exposure. Yes, it's awful. It's sickening to think about, but like, people have been sacrificed back in the day in old religions. That was like a typical thing, making a sacrifice to the god, to the gods or God. Either way, right? It's even in the Bible. And who is the God that is being given, and what gift are they being offered? Through the death of someone, through the torture of someone. Oh my God. Like, what? Well, It's called Loosh, is the word they've given it, that is in the new normal that I've been aware of for decades, but others have shut their eyes and said, oh God, no, that doesn't exist. You're nuts. Right? Again, vantage, protection, adaptation in your animal, social sky or karmic body. Fine. Not condemning you, not telling you, you just, don't get it. It's very wise to protect yourself from things that you're not ready for. We're ready for this. We're ready for this. And so, because it's the only way through to close the loops. You can't just ascend past it and say it's not happening, never did. I'm not going to go there. We don't have to go there. You just have to know that there was a there. And that there is going to stay until we decide, each of us, that we're going to breathe sovereignty back into our source point. We're not going to dim our lights anymore. We're going to learn about field dynamics, about timelines, about how to collapse intention and energy into form through that light. So these people have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And varying levels of possession have taken place for varying reasons. But the astral demons, if you will, that don't have source light that is self-sustaining, that is distorted, need it from others. And so this Loosh that's the offering. That's what they get from it. And I don't want to go into all of the details because it's gory beyond comprehension. But I am talking about the drug that those in physical form that are possessed actually use to get a high, which is the, I don't want to say the word because I don't want this video to be taken down. So you just have to do some research. It's a thing. And so you can say it in the comments and maybe I will after. But either way, it rhymes with chrome, right? Anyway, it has the word chrome in it. So that's what's happening, is the distortion loops of lack of source sovereignty have placed authority external, and you pay for that with your life force energy. And who benefits? Well, the astral demonic forces that can't survive without it. So again, it's all field mechanics. It's not hard to understand when you get it. And it may be hard to believe only because you've got some distortions that have been playing out to protect you, to adapt you through, to get through it, right? Without having a mental breakdown and an emotional breakdown. How am I so calm talking about it? Well, trust me, when I first found out about all of this and didn't turn my eyes away, I cried for weeks, and it just was a very heavy emotional, I worked through it all through field literacy, through understanding the dynamics of what's actually happening, what's at stake, and how important it is to align with your Christed self. And now that might trigger you. I'm a non-denominational Christian. Not in the religious sense, because that is a whole nother distortion. There has been so much, the tentacles of that shadow weaving aspect of polarity has always been. It's in plain sight, and it just comes from, Satan was an angel and it fell. What does that mean? It lost connection with its source and had to pull the Loosh from other things. and again, at varying levels of the spectrum. A lot of these people who are involved with all of this don't even realize there's layers, right? There's layers and layers, infinite layers, just as there are infinite layers of awakening. So it's not like, oh, all fill in the blanks are this. It's nuanced, which is why it's gotten out of hand and also can be shown in plain light and not be recognized. Big example is the Super Bowl. It's happening today. I encourage you, if you do partake and absorb through the program the information, encapsulate yourself in a source point bubble, not out of fear, but out of sovereignty, because even that has been distorted. Oh, if you look at the dark, you're saying yes and you're energizing it. If you deny looking at the dark, you're feeding it in a different way, because you are not clear. You are not in your center point. So it's not high or low, up or down, good or bad, right or wrong. It's, are you centered? Are you centered in your own sovereign source point? And that's why source point dynamics is so important to me. I have 2 invitations for you. Actually 3. 1, follow me for more information on this as we ascend and create the new earth together, because I've been working with tools that used to be woo and now they're true. And cutting edge. If I had millions to invest, I'd be investing in these areas. And I have many revelations and new ways to work with them that I've been working with. I've written, is it 7 books, 8 books now? But weaving together these amazing tools that are field tools. They help you. Water, for example, holds memory and information, and it pulls also forth timelines that you can collapse and puts you in contact with anything energetically that is supportive. Also, it can get distorted very quickly, which is what they try and do with the water. Either way, water, color, of course, let there be light. Light is the spark. It is transformation and the bandwidth spectrum of dimensionality, and it carries emotional enhancement and support. We can only see 0.01% of the spectrum or 4% with our eyes, but that is a narrow bandwidth if you do the research. But that doesn't mean the other things aren't there, right? This is the other confusing part about field dynamics, which I teach you all, is to understand that it's all simultaneously happening, all the timelines, all the levels of dimensionality. And yes, that can be disorienting until you understand the field mechanics behind it. And then you can center into the now without wanting to be somewhere else and without being pulled into timelines that don't serve your highest growth and expansion. So I am wrapping up. I know this has been a long one. It's just that time anomaly was so wild and real that I love to help people understand that the perception of time they're going through, you're not going crazy. The other thing is what is crazy and what isn't crazy is flipping, right? The poles are flipping. And so more and more information is going to be coming out that some people aren't ready for, because it's like truth is stranger than fiction. And you can look at a lot of the sci-fi movies, like The Matrix is one of them, many others, Monsters, Inc. I mean, there's just so many. I've done little deciphers over the years, but it's in plain sight. And the new norm is realizing that this is going on, whether we like it or not, whether we support it or not. But now what? But now what is, get yourself into the field of awareness so that you can go through the round door, which is happening now, 2026 to 2032, in the center point versus the outer rugged edge, which is disintegrating. And everyone has a choice. So one, follow me for more of all of this, different layers. So two, I have a school where I teach you field literacy, and I call it the mystic tools, but that even comes with a layer of, you know, identity that some people don't like. It's like, ooh, mystical, that can't be fill in the blank with your belief and identity, and it's fine. I wish the English language had broader words for such things. This is why I try and neutralize them out of bypass and spiritual inflation and out of the esoteric cult into a new language that is rooted in the center, that is source point, which is your highest oversoul self. So come into the school. It's an app. You unlock 7 days free, and you can cancel. You go in there, cancel, and then decide if you want to stay. If you do want to stay, reactivate it. It's just an app, but the information that I'm providing in there, and that I've already provided in there are dozens of full courses worth thousands of dollars that I'm just offering. It's like, here is the information. Come on in, take a bite, chew on it, decide if you like it, swallow it if you do, spit it out if you don't. It's all good. This is one way through it. And so, again, follow me, go to the school. And then the third thing is I am embarking on a culmination of my life's work that uses field literacy and DNA activation. So that's where I want to go with all of this. Water is a DNA activation of dormant DNA, your 24-strand DNA. Color is a activation. And sound, of course. Let there be light. That was sound before the spark, right? Through consciousness. Water and earth, right? The minerals. Anyways, I don't want to get too abstract for you. I don't want you to think this is confusing. This is completely simple. So simple. It's almost like that's it. And yeah, it is it. And you can activate your dormant DNA and become the homo luminous, right? Again, words don't do it justice. Superhuman, words don't do it justice. Become Neo in the Matrix, words don't do it justice, right? Because each of us are walking our infinite timeline. The collective has two that have collapsed into being. One is dystopian, one is the new earth. You're going to oscillate, right? It's not like, I've chosen this path and now I'm forever going to be here. That's bypass and disembodiment. And it's rooted in rising. It's rooted and rising. And likewise, I must be failing because I'm seeing this dystopian timeline, therefore I'm on it, therefore, right? Distortion. That's distortion. We will be here as the world ends. So if you think things are crazy now, buckle up. We're going to be going on a ride, and it's going to go up and down and around. But the point is completion and spiral and breath back into coherence. Color, water, sound, glyphs, beautiful glyphs that I teach you all as well. So I have a new field literacy class that I am consciously putting together, not the course, that's done, but how to describe it in a way that doesn't alienate either side of the spectrum, because there's 11 themes that you master, and they start in the density. So if you are feeling like I'm just waking up, what the hell's going on? I have no clue. Or you've been doing this for years and you're still feeling the looping of why the work isn't working, etc. No, baby, come here. It meets you on all levels, but there's a you can't deny both either end. I can't just say, hey guys, come on here. We're going to just activate our evolutionary DNA and it's going to be all, color, water, sound, glyphs and all these cool tools that are really advanced. And anyone else who hasn't been in this realm, good luck. Likewise, those tools may not be viable for you yet. There's a passageway. It's my way of, helping hold that round door open back into remembrance so that you get your bearings. And I liken it to scuba diving. It's like you live on this island your whole life and it's your world and you've been in the ocean and it's there and you seem to understand it and you have played in it and gotten fish and maybe have been frightened by a shark. It doesn't matter, all the dynamics, but you're not going to just jump down to the depths because you don't have the equipment. And so the field literacy program is a 7-part series that I'm launching. And we're going to go through all spectrum of field dynamics in those 7 sessions, from understanding the chaos in the world and the densities that everyone's overcoming as the 4 bodies of perception are detoxing collectively and internally, right? All the work is internal and external. It's not either or. That's another part of bypass. I'll just go within and the external won't reflect. No. So, it's necessary to have the first stabilization out from the chaos into the center point, as is backing into all the higher vibrational things and anchoring them into the center point. So if you go diving, I'm going to teach you, this is a mouthpiece. This is the oxygen. This is why breath's important. This is why you want to have your glasses, your goggles not fogged up. And this is what we're going to do. And this is how to go up and how to go down. And these are the safety precautions. These are the things you want to look for. These are the things you might see. These are things you may not see. But preparation and familiarity. And then you dive on your own. You are creating your own timeline. I'm just giving you your SCUBA license, if you will, which you always had, but this is all a remembrance of your higher self. It's you feeding you what you need in divine timing. Isn't that wonderful? So SCUBA, the acronym for SCUBA for me, because it is such a perfect analogy, because you do need to depressurize, right, to stabilize. If you take a deep dive, you're still breathing. They always say when you learn to dive, breathe frequently and normally and often, right? You need to breathe. You have to breathe. That's the breath spiral. And as you're going into depths, you're going to need to calibrate. You need to clear your ears, not to hear, but to pressurize, to normalize and stabilize as you dive deeper. Same thing. If you're already deep, you're already into all of this, you already know a lot about it, but you haven't anchored in, you can't just come right back into the now and expect the world to be different. Destabilization, that will, wreak havoc on you. It's like you came up too soon. So both ends, whether you're in it deep or you're on the surface, there's an equilibrium point that is ironically the water's edge, where the sky meets the water, where spirituality meets the depths. And that center point there in the sun, in the full sunlight, flowing in flow state. That's the center. My dog's being funny. Come here, baby. Stop it. Is it a squirrel? All right. So I've babbled on long enough. If this is resonating with you, look for the links soon. I'm just finalizing the portal so that it's clear, because the point of entry is twofold. And when you get there, when I share the link, you'll see that there's two questions you ask. There's one question you ask yourself, but you have to be honest, right? But wherever you're at, because you'll be tempted to answer, oh no, I got this, I'm in the 5D or whatever. If you've been doing this a while, it's not based on your level of expertise. It's based on your resonance. What are you experiencing in your world? And how are you navigating through it? How do you feel in it when things are happening, when chaos is happening? And neither are hierarchical, right? If you're there and you're not really here, you're not there. And if you are in the thick of it and you're not in the sovereign reality, you're not really there. So anyways, the page will ease you into the relevance of the content that I'll be sharing, which, by the way, it's not just content, it's flow-based. So the cycle of the 7 sessions that will encompass the 11 themes will always be growing and expanding based on what's happening in our actual physical reality. And so for that reason, it's not a static 7-session series and then the next time I teach it, it's the same 7-session. It's the same dynamics, different layers depending on what we're experiencing collectively. Because this is evolutionary, revolutionary work that is not dissectable. It's organic, it's living, it's pulsing. That's why I call it a pulse. The first pulse is going to occur very soon. So I haven't decided on the exact dates. I think mid-March or early March, probably early March. And that way we can cross the threshold into the tools as the day out of time occurs, which is March 31st, because it'll be weekly for 7 weeks, right? So I'm going to do the math and see where it all lines up with the cycle. But regardless of where you're at on the spectrum of oscillating density and lack of density, right? Dark and light, chaos and ascension, it's the center point through which you close loops and enter completion. And through that source point, you become the full avatar in this body. That we are in a simulation. It's real. It's just coded. So this gives you, as I was saying earlier, the ability to become Neo. And you can't just decide you're doing that, though, right? You have to do the work. It's field resonance through the round door that is the round door. It's not deciding I'm ascending and therefore I'm walking through that door. You are the door. And so I'll give you the equipment. Oh, and so SCUBA, the acronym is Source, Coherence, and Breath Attunement. Wait, SCUBA. Source, Coherence, SC. Unified, there we go, is the U. B is the breath. A is attunement. SCUBA. So if you want to stabilize, make sense of your gear, the dashboards that are available to you, the mouthpiece, the goggles, the air that you have in your tank, how to go up, how to go down, what to watch for, what to be aware of. Field literacy and DNA activation. And again, it'll be both ends of the spectrum, stuff you've never heard, even if you've heard of it, because this is coming in waves as I'm doing the work. The work is coming through and it's long been prophesied that there'd be, not in a religious way, in a cyclical, ancestral way about the weaving of the world and how it weaves, that as we awaken to being inside the dream, right? We're asleep and then you awaken, you're still inside the dream. You're still inside this body in a simulation. It's the emperor dreaming it was a butterfly, dreaming it was an emperor, right? But the mechanics, the field literacy opens doors into your full sovereign power to create the new world, the 5D. And polarity will always be. In fact, in higher dimensions, there's still polarity. So it's not about bypassing and arriving at some destination where it's all rainbows and butterflies. That ain't it. But allowing those thoughts and emotions and densities to pass through without distorting or dimming your light. That is the key. And you have it. You have all of it within you. So this field literacy and DNA activation covers the vast spectrum in 7 sessions, and I call it a pulse. And the spring pulse is commencing at the end of this month or the beginning, probably early March. I know I'm like, what? But I just need to do the calendar, the real calendar, the organic calendar, not the Gregorian calendar. There's a day out of time, right? It's 28 cycle. It's 28 days is the cycle. Those are the real months. And it's even, and it's for a reason, because it's coherent, it's non-distorted. That's a whole different topic, but the day out of time, which is the still point, is on March 31st on the Gregorian calendar. Doesn't mean March 31st is special, because March 31st is the label that they've given with the Gregorian calendar, which has got us all off on our flow state. You know, we're making New Year's resolutions on January 1st when we should be. That's the moon of dreaming. That's not when the flow is happening. The support with, that's the false matrix. Anyways, point being, I need to do the math to get to the right day of the 7 sessions so that it's right when we cross the threshold out of the distortion-based tools, like, not based, but looking at the distortion through the lens of field literacy into out of contraction into expansion, essentially, right? Because there's that layer of the water where you suddenly break open and into not just self-preservation, but expansion, right? And that point should occur on the day out of time, so that the rest of the series is into that new space. So again, follow me, check out my school. The free 7-day trial unlocks thousands of dollars worth of courses for free. You can cancel, you can stay. I hope you stay. I mean, we need to disconnect from the apps that are siphoning our energy and get into the center point. This does that. And then be on the lookout for the field literacy and DNA activation pulse, which is coming. It's going to be, again, 7 sessions covering the 11 themes that I have distilled down into the journey and what it means to be sovereign in this wild, wacky world as we ascend into the 5D through creating it through our coherent source point. And the keys are watercolor sound glyphs and the one thing that ties it all, which is breath. Breath. in and out. So I want to end today's little deep dive into a spiral breath mapping. And I teach you all about this in the field literacy journey, the pulse, the field literacy journey and DNA activation, because you will be activating dormant DNA, as I said. So hopefully that's okay with you, that you're going to become telepathic, that you're going to have powers of perception that allow you to create in the way that you are here to create together, weaving the world. And the breath work is fourfold. There's always 4 components to a breath cycle or a breath spiral, and then you repeat it. And breath isn't just breath, right? It's the one thing that prevails on all dimensions. Breathing in the field, holding that, exhaling through your mouth into the field and holding that. It's a stabilization recursion breath. And so the breath spiral always goes in 4 pulses. In through the nose, holding, out through the mouth, holding, and you repeat. And because the geometry of this field has sacred timing, we apply that to different things that we need based on the rhythm. I'm not going to get into like all the dynamics because there's many layers, but I think the one that would be the most stabilizing for you all would involve a cycle of 4-4 times 4, which is emotional coherence. And then we'll move into a cycle of removing distortion. And that one is, okay, so the first one will be in for 4 through the nose, hold for 4, out through the mouth for 4, hold for 4. And we'll do that 4 times. Okay, let's just do that one first. And then we'll do the next one. And if you got to go, you can come back to this, follow me. But the first one is emotional regulation, nervous system regulation, right? So the other thing to know is you don't need to inhale all the way to your max in four counts because that might be too fast, right? It's just natural breath in for 4, holding wherever that lands for 4, breathing out your mouth for 4, and holding for 4, wherever that lands in capacity. And if I'm going too fast or slow for you, do this on your own. All right, so let's go ahead and center in, feeling the weight of your chair or wherever you're sitting, closing your eyes, allowing thoughts or emotions to pass by like weather, any distortive naggings about what you need to be doing right now. Let those pause. They'll be there if and when you decide to pick them up. And in, hold, and out, hold, and in, hold, and out, hold, and in, hold, and out, hold. One more time, and in, hold, and out, hold. Sometimes I forget to tell you where we're at, even though we were holding. I didn't say hold until like count 2. So, yes, there's an art to being able to sail of this while you're breathing. So that's it. That's the emotion stabilization spiral, breath spiral. There are many spirals I teach you in the field literacy and DNA activation, which will do different things for you based on the geometry of the scalar field of recursion and your monad center, right? So, and you don't need to know anything about it. It works whether you know anything about it or not, but I do choose to explain the framework for those that are on that spectrum of, oh yeah, I've been doing this for years. I'm a breath work facilitator. Okay, well, most breath work out there, in fact, I would venture to say all of it is not helpful in that it doesn't close loops. It's not a spiral. It's it's helpful. It is helpful. Don't get me wrong, but there's ways to unlock deeper coherence through breath spiral coherence, which is what I teach, which is a whole new thing. A way. It's a way. But also I need to be mindful that people who are just new to this and they're like, what, breath work? They get it too, right? This is why the polarity of my work is so interesting, because it's for everyone, regardless of where you're at. Yeah. All right. So the final one we'll do not together. You can write this down and do it yourself. The reason why we aren't doing it together is it takes 3 minutes and 60 seconds. Anyway, there's a reason for that too. All of this is geometric. This is very purposeful. But this one is in for 6 and hold for 3 and out for 8 and hold for 3. So it's 6, 3, 8, 3, 6, 3, 8, 3, 6, 3, 8, 3. Write that down. 6, 3, 8, 3. And again, you'll breathe in for 6 through your nose. You'll hold for 3. You'll breathe out of your mouth for 8, and you'll hold for 3. And you'll begin again. And you will do that cycle, if you can, 8 times. If you're having a hard time doing it 8 times, just do it 6 times. 6 or 8, depending on the nuance of what you're feeling, right? 6, 3, 8, 3. Either 6 times or 8 times. And what that's going to do is help you to rediscover your source point. Synchronicities coming in. We stabilized the emotional distortion through the 4-4-4-4 breath spiral. And this one allows you to make contact with that source spark in a way that brings clarity, excitement, relief, synchronicities. It's sort of like a big cosmic hug, like you're gonna be okay, because you are, because you can't not be, because you are source. And I don't mean you are God, you know, that's also distorted. But I do mean you're God in a non-God way, right? We are inextricably woven as part of the pulse of creation that created this world, this simulation, the monad. And so your monad self is simply the part of you that is centered with that pulse of creation. All right, guys, thanks for hanging with me. I'll turn this into a YouTube. I love you so much. Follow me, join the school. Links will be in the description of this video. And then as soon as that course opens up, the Pulse, the seven session Pulse that covers the 11 themes that give you the zoom out and zoom in, high and low and everywhere in between, of field literacy and DNA activation, I will let you know. And we will begin together. And I know this sounds like hype, but your world will change. And the way you navigate and how you become self-sustained and regulated and centered in your breath, and how the world rises up to meet that and shows you that you are co-creator. And this is how we create the new world together. All right, guys, I love you so much. Let me see if I can get this turned around here. Mwah. Love you so much. We'll chat soon. Bye-bye.